Hi boys, today we're going to make buttermilk biscuits. And the great thing about this recipe is that you can actually make it ahead of time and bake it the next day. So we have Thanksgiving coming up. You can have these biscuits all put together, cut into their shapes, stick them in the refrigerator the night before, and then on Thanksgiving Day all you have to do is pop them in the oven and bake them. So let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to need first to make this. It's going to seem like it's a lot of ingredients, but trust me, this is going to go really quick. The first ingredient you're going to use is going to be white all-purpose flour. And then you're going to need buttermilk. Now I'm actually going to use a powdered buttermilk combined with a regular milk, or you can just buy regular buttermilk in your commissary. You're also going to need salt, baking soda and baking powder, and you're going to need stick butter. Now I'm actually using regular butter. I would prefer this over margarine. If you can get the real butter, get that if you can. You're also going to need shortening and then just a little bit of sugar. Let's talk about the tools that you'll need. You're going to need a good mixing bowl, and this is a good thing to invest in. This one, I think I've said in a previous video, I think this is like 28 years old, and I love this. It's perfect for, making biscuits or making pie crust, a lot of good things. You're also going to need your measuring cups and your measuring spoon. You're going to need your pastry cutter. You're going to need a spatula and your rolling pin, a knife to cut your shortening and your butter with, and also your biscuit cutter. You're also going to need a cooling rack, and then I'm going to use a baking stone. You can use a cookie sheet if that's all you have, and you're also going to need parchment paper. So what I want you to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 450, gather up your ingredients, and then we're going to get started. To begin with, I've added 3 3/4 cups of white all-purpose flour to my mixing bowl. Next, this is kind of different. If you're using the powdered buttermilk, this is when we're going to add it. I want you to go and add a 1/2 cup of powdered buttermilk. Now, if you're using the regular buttermilk, the liquid, don't add that at this time. That's going to come in separately. So I'm going to add just a 1/2 cup of the powdered buttermilk. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of sugar. So here is 1 and 2. And on the powdered buttermilk, make sure that you store that in the refrigerator after you've opened it. And then you need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. So here's my baking powder. Make sure and use your baking powder and not your baking soda. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. So I've got my salt. There's 1 and 1/2, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Remember, this is the soda, not the powder. We added the powder earlier. So there's 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And then go ahead and get your spatula and just kind of mix that together. That's all of your dry ingredients. Okay, and next I want you to go ahead and add your butter. So you're going to just kind of cut that into small pieces, all 12 of them, and those should have been chilled. Now put those in your refrigerator for like a 1/2 hour in advance along with the shortening so that they're chilled really well, the shortening and the butter. And then we're going to cut in 12 tablespoons of the butter, and then we're going to cut in 4 tablespoons of the shortening. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll be back. I'm finishing cutting in my butter, and what I mean by that, let me just kind of be a little more specific, is I'm actually taking my knife and I'm just slicing it in. So there's my butter, just, nice thin slices, just like that. And now the shortening, and again, these should have been refrigerated for the shortening for at least, 20 minutes ahead of time. You want it nice and firm. So I've gone ahead, there's the butter and the shortening, and with my dry ingredients, just like that. And then you're going to take your pastry cutter and you're going to smush it down into your dry ingredients and keep doing that until everything is mixed in. So what you should, when you get done, it should like little pebbles. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you what mine looks like. I finished using my pastry cutter to cut in all of my butter and my shortening, and this is what it looks like. See, just fine little, like little tiny pebbles. That's about it. Now we have to add our final ingredient. This is what's going to make everything stick together. Now, if you use the powdered buttermilk, at this point you're going to use 1 1/4 cups of regular milk. If you're just going straight for the buttermilk, then you're going to use 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. Okay, so 1 1/4 cup. Either with the buttermilk or the whole milk. So I'm going to add my whole milk. There's 1, and here's a 1/4 cup. And And then with my spatula, I'm going to stir my dough really good so till I don't see any of the dry ingredients. Everything should be mixed in really well. I'm going to do that and then I'll show you what mine looks like. I finished stirring the milk into the dough, and now this is what I have. So what I've done is I've taken some flour and I've put it onto my baking table, and I've transferred my dough, and I'm going to knead it for about 30 seconds. And this is going to make sure that my dough is nice and smooth and easy to work with. So go ahead and do that, and then we're going to come back for our last stage before we actually bake it. I finished kneading my dough. It's nice and smooth now. So now it's time to go ahead and roll it out, and we're going to roll it into a circle that's about 1 inch thick. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back. My dough's all rolled out. I have a nice round circle here. This is when I'm going to take my biscuit cutter. I'm going to dip it into some flour first, and then press it down in. Now it's really important that when you do this, that you don't twist your biscuit cutter. If you do that, then your biscuit's going to rise kind of funky. Okay, so here's my first one, and what I'm going to do is I have my baking pan, and I've just kind of lined it with the parchment, and then the side that was down before that has flour now on it, I'm going to flip it over. That's going to be on top. So I'm going to do that until all of my dough is used, and then with the scraps, I'll roll them into a ball, roll them out again, and keep doing that until I've used all the dough. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you what mine look like. Okay, so I've rolled all my biscuits out, and I put them on my baking sheet. Now this is the point, if you're making these a day ahead of time, that at this point what you're going to do is cover them with like some saran wrap, some plastic wrap, and put them in your refrigerator, and then the next day is when you're going to bake them. So I'm going to go ahead and bake them now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the oven at 450 for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm going to turn the temperature down from 450 to 400, and I'm going to turn the pan just kind of halfway. And then I'm going to bake them an additional 12 minutes. Then we're going to pull them out and see how they look. I've baked my biscuits at 450 for 5 minutes. Then I turn the temperature down and I bake them at 400 for another 12 minutes. They're out of the oven. Look at this. They're nice and brown on top, and look how thick they are. They're nice and tall and fluffy and wonderful and delicious. So let's go ahead and we'll kind of crack one open and see what it looks like on the inside. Look at that. Just perfect. So use your spatula. Take them off of your baking pan and put them on a cooling rack for about 5 minutes, and then they're ready to eat. All right, boys, wasn't this an easy recipe? It sounded like it was going to be really difficult, but it actually was really easy, and these are so delicious. All right, boys, I love you. I hope you're having a great day. Bye.